Hello my friends, and welcome back. Today we'll be adding another page to our bestiary, as we explore the lives and powers of strange magical creatures. While they all fall under a single category, each and every creature we're about to discuss is completely unique and should be treated with respect. But without further ado, let us dive headfirst into one of the most mysterious yet powerful entities on our world. Let us come together so that we might understand the nature of the Auspice. The first question we must ask ourselves is, what is an Auspice? And the simple answer is, it's an animal. Or rather, it could be any animal. Allow me to explain. The people and creatures of our world have predetermined lifespans based on their species and genetic makeup. A healthy Hyur could typically live between 80 to 100 years, whilst a robust Elezen could live around 100 to 120 years. The same rules apply to all animals of our world as well, though many creatures typically live much shorter lives than we do, often only getting to live for 1 or 2 decades before they start to grow feeble and ultimately pass away from old age. But what if I told you there were animals in our world that broke this rule? Their very existence transcending their biology and transforming them into magical beings that can live for hundreds, if not thousands of years. That is an Auspice. An animal that has somehow lived past its supposed prime, and instead of growing weaker, it became stronger. They develop a strong sense of individuality and self-awareness only to start gaining strange yet powerful magical abilities. These magical animals have outlived most people, and as such have much wisdom and knowledge to share with those who are willing to humble themselves and listen. Indeed, age is what sets an Auspice apart from all other creatures of our world. They're seemingly forgotten by time and allowed to live nigh immortal lives with no obvious end aside from being slain. Make no mistake, the older the Auspice, the more powerful they're likely to be. So make sure to mind your manners in their presence. Now that we know what sets these animals apart from other creatures, let us try to understand the process of becoming a well-aged Auspice. Every single Auspice in the world will tell you that they were once an average animal like any other. A squirrel collecting acorns, a dog playing with their master, a fox curled up in the forest. Once upon a time, they were all what we'd consider to be normal. But unfortunately, that's where the similarities end. No Auspice or researcher can completely agree with what causes them to mature past their ordinary lifespan. Each tells a different story, and rarely do they ever match up or display a common theme. They simply kept living. The first signs of a young Auspice are when any animal passes its natural lifespan and starts to approach 100 years of age. If they grow older than a century, then they begin to develop into something greater. After the 100th year, they start to think. Mayhaps they start to think philosophically, wax poetic, or simply fall victim to delusions of grandeur. But any animal that passes 100 years will start to gain this greater sense of self and their place in the world. They will continue to live for hundreds of years longer, gaining more of a unique personality with every century. Their thoughts, feelings, as well as their disposition towards the world usually comes into focus during these years, solidifying their stance on one or more things. It's entirely likely that if someone with the echo, or more specifically, the power of transcendent words, were to meet one of these animals, they'd be able to understand or sense the unique thoughts and feelings of said creature. But if they're not killed during these centuries and live to exactly 1,000 years of age, something profound happens. The Auspices themselves call it the change, and this is when the animal in question goes from your abnormally long-lived creature into a full-fledged Auspice. Their sense of individuality forms into that of a unique person. They're finally able to fluently speak and verbalize themselves regardless of their animalistic tendencies, and they gain 1 or more magical powers and abilities. At 1,000 years of age, they are finally a true auspice. Every auspice is different, commanding some form of magical or elemental power that is unique to them. Some become fighters or guardians, others can be seen as healers, and there are many more different methods for their powers to mature. They've even been cited as becoming so powerful that they're just as strong, if not stronger than some primals. It's because of their 1,000 years of wisdom and magical abilities that many auspices in the Far East are revered as kami, or godlike entities. And there are just as many auspice that fill that exact role. Any auspice that has lived around a village or town for hundreds of years may find themselves in a protective role, acting as a guardian of the people from threats that are beyond mortal men. Others are credited with bringing rain during droughts and soothing the hearts of men and women through companionship. The auspice are responsible for many random acts of benevolence or magical boons that people may receive. There are multiple Far Eastern legends involving the auspice, such as the Tale of the Four Lords, involving Byakko, Suzaku, Genbu, and Siryu. But it doesn't stop there. Stories of Kishion Da-sheng, who's a fun and battle-loving monkey, as well as the mysteries of the nine-tailed fox, are common knowledge in both Doma and Hingashi. But despite their many interactions with people throughout history, there are plenty of auspice that become reclusive and limit their conversations to that of other auspice. But as magical beings, it's fully within their power to live however they choose, so long as they don't outwardly harm the lives of mortal men. Any auspice that causes undue harm to other creatures and people become little more than rampaging monsters, and must be put down as such. That brings us to the strange duality of many auspice. At best, they're helpful, friendly, and benevolent beings. At worst, they're angry, hateful, and destructive. But why? What causes them to be so extreme? The culture that seems to have gotten closest to explaining this phenomena are the countries of the Far East, or rather, their spiritual beliefs. Those who believe in the kami, or spirits in general, believe that the soul can be broken down into 4 distinct pieces: Saki-mitama, Kushi-mitama, Nigi-mitama, and Ara-mitama. Saki-mitama refers to the fortune that is brought on by a soul's love, kindness, and joy. Kushi-mitama is classified as the wisdom of the soul and how our spirits improve through things like experience and patience. But the last 2 are the ones we need to watch out for: Nigi-mitama and Ara-mitama. These 2 aspects of the soul are the closest to one another, with Nigi-mitama representing the tranquility of spirit, while the Ara-mitama represents a soul's rage. Peace and conflict, 2 sides of the same coin. Normally, the soul of an auspice is mostly made up of Nigi-mitama, which explains their kindness and willingness to create positive change in the world by using their powers to bring peace to others. The problems arise when the Ara-mitama grows stronger than the Nigi-mitama. The auspice becomes more spiteful, quick to anger, and even violent. What prompts their spirits to give in to such negative emotions is what many consider to be the curse that comes with long life. Throughout their hundreds or thousands of years of existence, an auspice likely has seen or endured all the forms of pain and grief that life has to offer. They watch people they love and care about die of old age as they continue to live. They observe the greedy and selfish nature of mortals repeat over and over again with every new generation, never learning. These things are only considered mild annoyances at first, but over the many lifetimes they exist, that collection of minor negative emotions grows into a font of rage and frustration. Every auspice has to contend with their Ara-mitama at some point in their existence. And if they fail to do so, they're consumed by it, becoming little more than a destructive monster that wishes to annihilate everything that they believe has slighted them. They go from godlike beings of kindness to pitiless death dealers. The source of their growing Ara-mitama is different for every auspice, but the result is the same every time. Thankfully, there are ways to counter this. Shrines erected in the auspice's name, along with prayers of good faith and goodwill, are known to soothe them and quell their Ara-mitama. For how can they harm those whom love them? That and a few other spiritual techniques are used to soothe their wrath, but the easiest method among them is also the most dangerous. It's a well-known fact that the Ara-mitama within an auspice can be brought to heel in ritual combat. The auspice and their opponent will do battle with one another, unleashing all of their hate, anger, and fury all at once. If their opponent is able to weather that storm and defeat them, then their Ara-mitama is spent. Having been humbled in ritual combat, it allows the Nagi-mitama to swell within them and become the dominant aspect of their spirit once more. It could be assumed that it's the responsibility of the older and stronger auspice to strike down their younger and more wrathful fellows, but in truth, anyone of sufficient power could become the opponent an auspice needs to be at peace once more. That being said, there are countless stories involving many auspice around the world. The bulk of these stories can be found in the Far East, since the nations of Hingashi and Doma openly adore, worship, and even fear some auspice of ancient myth. Some of the stories involving them are true, but many would say that the tales involving them are overly dramatic or flat out wrong. But to an auspice filled with the peace of the Nagi-mitama, they don't mind, since they know deep down that they're no threat to the world or its people, despite how they might view them. And that, my friends, covers the lives, powers, and mentality of the creatures we call the Auspice. While they may be considered extremely powerful and godlike, remember that they were once a normal creature like any other around the world. Be kind to nature and the creatures around you. If one of them speaks to you, know that you're in the presence of something truly special. They are older than you, so humble yourself and see what you might be able to learn from them. Who knows? If you become good friends, then you'll already have a loving companion waiting for you the next time your soul walks our world. But that's enough rambling from me. So until the next time we meet, be well, and stay safe, my friends. Hello everyone! Thanks for staying to the end of the lesson. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, subscribe and like this video to let me know I'm doing well. If there is a topic you'd want me to cover in the future, leave a comment about it and I'll see what I can do. Until next we meet, I'll be researching even more of our world's rich lore to share with you. Till then, stay safe, my friends.